Hello again to all of our loyal listeners. My name is Priscilla.
And my name is Jessie.
And welcome to another episode of
Nana's Hangout! Yay! Close your eyes for a moment and picture this. You're running on just a few hours of sleep, flipping through pages of dense medical textbooks, preparing for your next exam. At the same time, you're carrying the weight of being one of the few Latinas in the room, navigating a system that wasn't built with you in mind. But despite the long nights and the pressure, there's something inside you that keeps pushing forward, a dream, a purpose, a voice that says you belong here.
Today, we're sitting down with someone who knows exactly what that feels like. Laura is not just a med student. She's a trailblazer, a traveler, a dancer, and a woman on a mission to make healthcare more inclusive. This episode is for the dreamers, the first-gen students, the future doctors, and anyone who's ever felt like they had to work twice as hard to claim their space. So grab your drink, get comfortable, and let's dive into this powerful conversation.
Yay! Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. That's such a nice intro. You guys are so sweet.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Yes.
What do you like to do?
Oh my gosh. My name is Laura. I'm half Colombian. My mom is from Bogota and my dad is Argentinian. So I'm halfsies. But I grew up here. And well, I'm in medical school. I love dancing. I love art. I think we all met through dance.
Yes, dance community is awesome.
It's great.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah, that's me.
Nice. Laura, since you've been, in the hospitals with your internships, with all the work you've had to do, what's a misconception about med school or being a doctor that you wish more people understood?
Oh my gosh, that's a really good question. I think there's like two ways to look at it. One is like from the outside in. I think like people see doctors as like this glamorous thing and it's like really fancy and you always see them in white coats and the ads are like really cool and stuff like that. It's not glamorous at all. Like I think it's a lot more raw than I anticipated. Like I knew it would be like there would be smells and things I didn't expect, but I never thought it would be like the way it is in person. So like for example, I think people see doctors or like I'll say like, oh, I'm in med school and everyone's like, oh my god, that's so cool.
Yes.
And I'm like, thank you. Like my hand was literally in someone's leg today and it was really uncomfortable. And so you're just like, yeah, it's not as cool as you think. Like there's a lot more textures and things and you're like, wow, that was unanticipated. And I guess the other thing from like now, having done most of medical school, like looking outwards, one thing I didn't really anticipate about medical school is like the emotional whiplash, I guess. And so like one thing like I never thought of like going to the doctors is like you just walk in, you do your appointment, and you're done. But like for the doctor, like they've gone through like 15 rooms at this point and like you never know what they saw in the room before. And so like one thing I didn't anticipate, like I know like even being in med school now, like I'll go to a room and like we give the family like really sad news. Like I'm an empath, so I'm like fighting the tears, and then we'll go into the next room and someone's like, oh my god, this jello sucks. And you're like, bro, like, you have no idea what I just saw. And like obviously I'm trying to be empathetic, but that is one thing that like hits that I wish someone had like warned me about.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel like, have you made close connections with like some patients?
Yeah, 100%. I think like I don't know. I think there's a really important balance to strike between like, oh my god, my eyes are tearing up and you're like telling me a really sad story versus like I'm so sad I can't function versus like I'm just treating you like another number. And like you really have to strike the balance. I think when I first started I was like so sad or like I'd really feel like what they were feeling to the point where I'd be like, oh my god, like I'm not even thinking about like what med to give, I'm just like sad. But then the other side is like you don't want to get too used to it, you know what I mean? Because like for someone like someone's broken arm is like the worst day of their life maybe, and for me I'm just like, oh, you're good, it's like really tiny and fine, but like and so it's like a really important balance to find, I think.
Oh, that's crazy.
You know what? I hope that I'm not that patient of like, after a doctor has had a bad day and I'm just crying because they had to take some blood off of me.
No, but I I think it's okay though, because like it hurts for you and that's your pain, you know?
Yeah,
I think it's okay. But yeah,
It's okay.
just be nice to your doctors.
They're people too.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's been the most surprising or unexpected thing that you've learned about the healthcare system during your studies? Because we know that medicine is one thing, but then the system is the other thing. And
Yeah.
I feel like we have brilliant doctors, amazing research is done all the time. But sometimes I feel like one of the major problems is the lack of access to the healthcare or like just the system in general.
Yeah. I think kind of like you said, like medicine is its own thing, and then there's the healthcare system, and like unfortunately they interact.
Yeah.
I think in medical school we don't learn as much as like I anticipated about the healthcare system. Like,
Really?
yeah, which is like I was actually just talking to this like to my mentor on shift, and I was like, hey, like when do we learn about like Medicare and Medicaid? Because like I really need to know about that. And like he was like, yeah, like he got an MPH, and he was like, either get your MPH or like pick up what you can during shifts and stuff. And so I think like we actually don't know as much, I think, as people think, and like we do have to like put in extra work on our end to like learn about it. But like again, it's like when I went to med school, I was like, I really want to make grandma feel better, and I like didn't want to learn about Medicare laws, but I have to like help grandma feel better, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a silly question.
Yeah.
This, like, it may not make it into the podcast, but
No, ask away.
you know how, like, obviously I work at a car dealership, so obviously, like, whenever I've gotten cars from there, like, I get some help, or like if I couldn't make my payment on time, like, of the month, then they like, oh, it's fine, you can get 2 more weeks or whatever. So since you've been working in healthcare and stuff, do doctors also get, like, for example, cheaper surgeries or, you know, things like that?
Yeah, that is a great question. To be honest, right now I have like medical student status.
Yeah.
And so like, no, like oh my gosh, as like a med student, I feel like you're like plagued with knowledge. So like the other day, like I like, it was crazy on family medicine. I like felt someone's like mass on their breast, and I was like, oh my god. And then the doctor like emailed me later, she's like, hey, by the way, like that mass you felt, that's what breast cancer feels like, so that you know. And like that day I went home and I was like, oh my god, like, oh my god. And I was like, oh my god. And I like was feeling around and I was like, oh my god, like I think I feel something. So I like went to my doctor, and he was like, yeah, like we can do an ultrasound if you want. And I was like, okay. And like I had no idea how to like manage paying for it. It was also a lot of money for some reason, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. So at least at the medical student level, no. I wish we would. Yeah, but I will say I think like healthcare is really hard. Even like as a medical student, I have trouble like navigating it, and like it's tough. It's really hard. I will say like doctors don't like it just as much as everyone else.
Yeah, and that's why I'm asking, because, you know, and I feel like it wouldn't be, I guess, fair that, like, obviously these doctors are saving lives every single day, and then if they were to not be able to afford like this really like big surgery or something, like, can they not like get it like as a thank you?
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
I really,
don't know.
to be honest, I don't really know how that works. And like, I think from my end, all I can say is like, I have seen firsthand like that the healthcare system is not great. Like I had a girly pop the other day who like waited 2 days in the ER to get seen, and like yeah, but also like because you got to see the sicker people first, and like sometimes if you're waiting, maybe
If it's just a cut,
like it's gonna take a while to get to you. And so I think like the healthcare system really needs some help. But I think what I will say is like we don't like it just as much as y'all, and like we're also mad about it, and it's really hard to change because there's a lot of moving parts.
Policy, politics. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So, do you think, how has your experience as a Latina shaped the way that you see the healthcare field? You know, especially in terms of patient care and representation.
Oh my gosh, great question again, you guys.
Be prepared.
I love it. Hey, kitty. Hi. Oh, you made it into the podcast.
Yes, my little baby.
Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. Anyway, I can't focus. Okay, how was my experience? Okay, I think as a medical student, I think being Latina, like sometimes I do talk in Spanish at the hospital. They like make us take a test to prove that we can, and like I took it. But whenever I do have like my Latin patients, I think there's definitely like this like extra intimacy, just because that's the language I talk to my parents in, you know, like that's that's the language I talk to my grandma in. And so like I definitely like I try to be very close with all my patients, but it definitely does hit a little extra because I'm like, dang, especially when they like look like a loved one or something, and I'm like, oh, you're really like my grandma. And so I think like it does like kind of lend itself to a little of like, wow, like I don't know, it's a little extra special. But I mean, I try and treat everyone like equally, but it is a little extra special. I will say like, I think it's cool being from a different background because like I'll have patients from like literally anywhere you can imagine. Like I had this patient from, I don't remember what country, but it was like a French speaking country in Africa. And we were talking via like a translator because like I don't speak French. And, but I think like just being from a different culture, you do better at understanding other cultures and being like, okay, that's how y'all do that. Nice.
Yeah, because we all struggle with like not learning or not knowing a language. We all struggle with like assimilation. We all struggle through like very similar like stories. So it is a shared experience being like an immigrant or you know, first gen.
100%.
I want to tie like the STEM degree and like more the educational part of that because I feel like a lot of girls that are in high school watch us because I see like the statistics and all that stuff. So like, how was that? Like choosing a STEM like major.
Oh my god, yeah.
And career path. Yeah.
I feel like I kind of like honestly STEM maxed a little bit. Like like just I did a lot of STEM. I don't know. I think for me, like I will say I was inspired like by my brother. He's like an engineer. And I first of all, shout out to my parents because like they weren't able to like do like all the college that they wanted to for various reasons. Like my like the political situation in Argentina was like crazy and then like economics in Colombia were like kind of rough. Like they both really wanted to, but they weren't able to. It just like wasn't in the cards for them. But I like first of all shout out to them because they worked so hard to get me through it and get me to medical school, which I think is like so cool. But I was inspired by my brother because he's an engineer, and I like leaving high school was like, I don't know, I want to be cool like my brother. I'll do engineering. And so I was like a biomedical engineering major. And it was crazy because like you walk into those rooms, like not many Latinas, you guys. Like there are a few of us. Not
what is it? 2% of Latinas. Less than 2% of Latinas earn STEM degrees. So that's crazy.
It's crazy. And one thing my grandma actually told me, she was like, yeah, it might be there, but in Colombia, it's like 100% of engineers are Latin. Like you can do it, you got it. And I was like, damn, grandma, you're right. Like, and so I think like that's one thing that kept me going. I think like also like we are like different races and different ethnicities, but we're all sitting in that same like differential equations class going like, what is this man saying? It's like there's like a lot of unity in like hard STEM classes and stuff. And
when did you know you wanted to not do engineering and like go into
god, loaded question, girl. I think I initially went into biomed because like in Colombia, I remember like growing up, there was like, obviously I'm too young to have like lived the worst part of it, but like there were some like political situations, and a lot of people because of like what was going on ended up like not having like limbs and stuff, missing limbs from like explosions and things like that. And so I remember like being little and seeing like the guards at the mall. Like, they hire them as like security guards, and he'd like be missing a leg. And I remember seeing one with a prosthetic, and I was like, oh my god, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to make those so bad. And that's like why when I was like, college, I guess I'll do BMen, like biomedical engineering. And so I went, and then one day we're like sitting in BMen class, and we're like talking about like the tensile strength of a certain material. And I was like, actually, I don't think I care that much about his leg. I care more about like the person using the leg. You know what I mean? So I like went to volunteer at like a clinic, and my first shift, I remember it was like supposed to be like 5 hours or something, and I stayed like 12, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And so I think after that I was like, dang, I guess I'm going to med school. Like, I guess I'm gonna do it.
I love that. It sounds like you found like your purpose, like your calling. Like, and I love that you're going after it, you know, even through all the work, you know, with your internships, with school. Like, I am very, very, very proud. And even just like this conversation, we're not even done. We're on question 4, and I am already feeling inspired.
You're so sweet.
Thank you for doing what you do.
You guys are so sweet.
I feel grateful that, you know, we're going to have a doctor like you.
Oh my god.
And we need more doctors like you, for sure.
Yes.
You're so sweet.
If you could study medicine in any country for a year, where would you go and why?
Ooh.
Yes, because I know you travel a lot.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love traveling.
Especially, you know, if you like volunteering, is there any specific place you're like, oh, this place needs it the most? Or
oh my gosh, I think I think it's hard. I think, God, there's so many good places to go. I think selfishly, like, I really want to say Brazil, just because, like, my parents lived in Brazil for a while, and they always, like, spoke so highly of it. I have, like, a really long streak on Duolingo, because I've been studying that Portuguese, and I think, like, infectious disease-wise, there's a lot of really cool stuff in Brazil that I think would be cool to see. But I think, like, you can gain something from traveling anywhere. I had a friend who, she really wanted to go to, like, a lower-income country, and she was, like, looking for where to go, and she ended up, like, through a lot of reasons, going to Singapore, and she was like, I feel so bad, like, I should be going somewhere, like, Singapore's low-key fine, like, they're doing great. And she was like, I feel like I should go somewhere else. But whenever she came back, she was like, dude, I learned so much. Like, that was totally worth it. So I think there's still learning to do everywhere you go, you know?
I guess it matters also, like, in the area in which you want to learn in also, like...
Yeah. I think my school's really cool. A lot of my classmates do, like, really awesome stuff. I have a friend who's, like, going to Paris. I have a friend who went to Botswana or something, or Rwanda, actually. And yeah, it's crazy. People go everywhere, and there's a lot of learning everywhere.
And that's the beauty. I also mentor, like, high school students, and I tell them education can also be the key or the way to see the world. And sometimes, you know, our parents don't tell us that, because my parents only left Mexico, you know, they didn't see anywhere else, they don't travel or anything for legal reasons or whatever. So, like, sometimes school is the way to see the world.
Yeah, you know? 100%. And, like, if you can get on a trip, I think definitely go for it. I think there's so much to learn just from, like, seeing how other people live and seeing how they talk and things like that. Yeah.
I know that you're also a dancer. So what's something that you've learned from dancing that has surprisingly helped you in medicine or vice versa?
Dude, when I was, like, reading the prep for this, I was like, this is my favorite question. I'm so excited to answer that question. Yeah, mostly because, like, I think they're way more related than, like, you would anticipate, you know what I mean? Like, I think one thing that draws me to dancing, especially, like, social dancing, is, like, I'm sure you felt it. I'm sure you felt it while you're dancing, but, like, whenever you have, like, a really magical dance, you feel, like, a glowing ball of light, like, in your chest. You're like, oh my God, I'm gonna go home so happy tonight. Like, like, I just had the best dance ever. And I remember being like, damn, like, I wish I had that feeling at work, like, somehow. When I started dancing, like, early in college, and so, like, I was like, okay, I need this feeling. Like, I love dance. I don't think I would do it professionally ever. Like, that's not in my heart, not in the cards for me, but, like, how can I find this feeling somewhere else? And so I think, like, dancing is always so interesting to me, because, like, sometimes you'll have a really magical dance with someone at, like, a random city, and they're from, like, a random other city, and, like, you don't even talk. You're never gonna see them again. Like, yeah, exactly. But sometimes, like, you have such a good dance, you walk around, you're like, I kind of feel like I know him now. Like, that was so intimate. You make a really intimate connection. And I think, like, for me, like, going into emergency medicine, like, I've tried to explain it to non-dancers, but it's kind of hard to explain. That, like, emergency medicine is so similar to dancing. Like, I will meet someone who was, like, a tourist passing through Dallas who's actually from, like, Burundi, and he, like, broke his arm, and we do not speak the same language, and I'm sitting in that room going, like, it's gonna be cool, man, like, we're all good. And by the end, we're like, yeah, like, we're besties, like, we can't even talk, and, like, I walk away with, like, that glowing ball of light, you know? And so I think it's, like, it's really similar. You're, like, intimately connecting with someone, you're never gonna see him again.
That's what a connection. I would have never thought about it that way.
And I think like, in medicine, I guess, like, it has sort of, like, a girl's bathroom vibe. Like, I just met you and you're telling me, like, your deepest, darkest secret. And, like, and so, like,
I love that.
A great analogy.
It makes sense. But, like, I'll be in a room and I'll just be like, hey, like, I mean, it's, like, questions we have to ask, like, oh, like, are you sexually active? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, like, I'd, like, see a ring on their hand, but I'm just gonna ask. And I'm like, hey, like, with boys or girls? And they're like, both. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'm just like, oh, like, I don't know, any chance you can be pregnant? And, like, they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, let's do that too. It's like, any drug use? And they're like, you know what, yeah. It's like, you would never tell anyone else that. And, like, I think we have, like, access to, like, really intimate information, and, like, it's a privilege to be trusted with that. But it does, like, I don't know, you meet someone, like, 10 minutes later, they're like, I don't know, like, the other day I had this lady, I, like, walk in, she's, like, telling me about how she fell, blah, blah, we're, like, talking about her back pain, and then she's like, you know, and there's, like, one more thing that's upsetting me, and I'm like, what's up? And she's like, I told my boyfriend that, like, my back hurt, and he told me I was being dramatic. And I was like, no, he didn't. And then, like, boys. Because, like, I'm about to be a doctor, but I'm first and foremost a girl. It's just like, what did you say? And, like, anyway, I think, like, I I got off topic. But what I'm saying is like people open up to you and it's really intimate in the same way that dancing is. And I think there's like a really valuable connection. I will never see her again. Like statistically, we'll never ever see her again. But like we shared a really good girls moment.
Yeah.
Just like dancing.
I love that. What kind of doctor do you aspire to be beyond just your specialty? Like, what do you want patients and colleagues to remember about you? Like, what do you think this lady remembered about you when she left?
Oh my gosh. I love that question too. What kind of doctor do I aspire to be? Oh my gosh. I think on bad days, I'm like, I just hope I make it. I hope I graduate school. I hope I go to residency. But I really think like, I want to do emergency medicine. I think with emergency medicine, there's like this like bad rep, I guess, that you're just like another number, like we got to get through our number of patients, waiting room's full or whatever. And like one thing I've made like a point of making sure I do is like really being present with you, like really listening to you in that moment. I'm not looking at my phone, I'm not checking like the orders on the computer, like I'm literally sitting there going like whatever, because usually you're not in the ER for a good reason, like and so I think it's really powerful to sit with someone and be like, you know what, this sucks, like this sucks and I'm so sorry, but like I'm with you and we're gonna try and make it better. And so I think like being really present with someone, even though like I'll never see you again, probably, hopefully not, because like if I see you then something bad happened. And so like I am generally like I kind of like hope I don't run into you again, because that means something bad happened to you. And but like I'm wishing you all the best from here in my corner, you know?
Oh my god, I hope I get to see you again.
Oh my god, you're so sweet. Yeah.
Or at least someone like you. Yeah.
Oh, you're so sweet.
You know, like doctors can be intimidating.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, but they're literally just people. Like their toes burned this morning and they're all so tired.
Exactly. I think, you know what, that's what comes to my head. I'm like, they're tired. So in my head, I'm like, they don't want to talk to me. They don't care really about me. They just want to get to their shit and like, that's it.
No, because here's the thing is like, if every patient is just like, oh yes, I have lower quadrant pain and like it radiates to my leg, like then it really stops feeling like an art and it just feels like math. And so like for us, like I love it when someone says something goofy and I go home and I like tell my mom, I'm like, dude, mom, guess what someone said to me today? And like it brings the humanity back. And so like, I don't know, I love silly goofy patients. Like you guys just say whatever you want. It's fun. It's really sweet.
Good to know. Good to know.
In your studies or travels, have you come across any indigenous healing process that stood out to you? And do you think Western medicine could benefit from integrating any of these approaches? Because sometimes I feel like we forget the past. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And we forget that, we think we're innovators, and we are, but other countries are as well. Other types of people are as well. So,
yeah, I think I didn't come across this on my travels. I actually learned this from my roommate, but my roommate is Vietnamese. And one day we were talking about like coining. I don't know if you've heard about coining. It's like,
no.
It's like, no, you're good. It's like an Eastern practice. I don't know that much about it, but she like, you grab a coin and you kind of like scrape against the skin, and like they believe that it has like healing processes, and you'll see like a linear bruise.
Okay.
Like at school they always teach us like if you see a lot of linear bruises, it might be coining. It might not be child abuse. Like it might actually be coining. And so I think like we've talked about that, and I was like, wait, but how? Like I was like being really Western and very like logical, and I was like, so how is that supposed to like, you know, work? Like please explain. But like more, I was trying to be curious, you know, and just be like, well, how is that supposed to? And she's like explaining it to me, and I'm like, okay. And I think bottom line, like if something makes you feel better and it's not like actively harming you, then that's medicine, you know? Yeah. Snaps all around, snaps.
Yes.
But yeah, I think
That's a reel right there.
I think like it's good to be careful and maybe approach things with curiosity. I know like I've seen there's like always horror stories. Like I know some people like they're like what's it called, like aromatherapies, and like okay, sure, but like if your subscription service is charging you like $300, like maybe we should pause and be like,
what exactly
what am I spending my money on? Also, like I think like as long as it's not like hurting you, like I did read a case study earlier about like a mom who loved her like aromatherapy, and then her toddler drank it and like almost died. And so I think like it's really scary, and so I think you have to be like careful, which is why I add like as long as it's not actively causing you harm. Like I love me some tea and lemon, like that's not amoxicillin, but you know, it makes me feel better. And that to me is still
and then
medicine.
sometimes you know, lower income people, that is the first
source.
Yeah, like the teas, or like, you know, oh, let's go get a massage, let's go to the curandera, you know. Sometimes that's cheaper, unfortunately, than actually going to the doctor. But I think mixing both of them, you know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, my grandma, she does a lot of like plant-based type of like remedies. So literally before, like, you guys know what Tums are, right? Like what you eat for, So she would told me to mix water with lime and a little bit of baking soda, and it literally does work. Like, and also because of my grandma, if you're like really sick and you drink in a spoon, honey, like raw honey
with lemon,
exactly, and just like let it sit over here. Like all of those is like what my grandma like really likes. Also.
Yeah.
Do you think though that natural, I guess, medicine could be better than like drugs? Like, so like you said, amoxicillin. Like, I know that they're both medicine, and obviously, but would you recommend more like innovative medicine than like remedies, in your personal opinion?
Oh my gosh, I think it's tough because I think like remedies or like home remedies are really tied to like our culture, you know. Like if my throat is sore, my mom has like her tea in hand and she's like, drink, like this is for you know. And like now knowing what I know, I'm like, okay, like I could also do like saltwater gargles, and it would be like kind of similar, but I'm like, you know what, yes, I will totally drink this, and it makes like my heart feel better too. But I think like I personally, like, I do like to see a little bit of evidence because, like, I am a science person, and so, like, I do think, like, it's tough. Like, the world is scary. I think there's some people who sell, like, oh, like, this awesome medicine that's gonna make you lose, like, 300 pounds. But, like, and I think it's sad because, like, there is an overlap of, like, people who aren't, like, there's someone who wants to, like, make money and has this product that, like, may or may not work. We don't really know, that, like, targets a community that doesn't have, like, the understanding or like the education to pause and be like, wait, what am I having, and stuff like that, you know. And so I think like it's good to have things that have been like tested or at least proven to not hurt you before we try things. And so I think like I'm never gonna immediately turn someone down, but like for example, like, oh, honey is like one thing. Whenever you said raw honey, I got a little scared because like for babies, like raw honey can have like botulinum in it, and so that's why like as like if I hear honey and I'm like, slay, as long as it's not a baby, like. And so I think like sometimes we have like a little bit of like we're like plagued with knowledge, you know, and I'm like, oh, but not raw and things like that, and it sounds really specific, but yeah, I think like I wouldn't be, as a doctor, I wouldn't be too quick to like tell anyone like, no, don't get acupuncture, like whatever. I'm like, if the acupuncture makes you feel better, go for it. Don't let them charge you like $800.
That is true.
Yeah, and like make sure the needles are like clean. And make sure it's not like in a parking lot. But
it's just
not, then we're good.
I know you told us a few stories throughout the episode, but is there a patient interaction that deeply impacted you? Wait, is that the question?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're doing great.
I'm getting sleepy too.
You're great, fine, sweetie.
You're doing amazing.
Yeah, has there been a patient interaction that deeply impacted you and reaffirmed why you chose medicine?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I can think of like two main ones that are the ones like I think about a lot. Story time. Yeah. I think the first one was, okay, so the way med school work, you do like a year and a half of like classroom work. And then you go to like the wards or like the hospital. And so this was like, I had done my year and a half. I had taken like this big test we have to take called step 1. And then it was like my second week in the hospital. And so I signed up for like an elective just to like go see the hospital and not be so scared. And so I was doing exactly like my emergency, I always had a feeling, but I did my emergency medicine elective. And I was such a baby. I like didn't know where the bathroom was. Like my main rule was like, don't make anyone worse. Like that's the only thing I have to do when I show up today. And so I remember I like showed up and I just wanted to see like medicine finally, no more flashcards. Like I wanted to see the world. And I show up and it's like trauma, trauma, which is like super cool from a scientific perspective, not for the people living in it, but and we're like sitting in the bay, and like all the pagers go off. That part is a little bit Grey's Anatomy-esque, which is like really cool. So all the pagers go off, and like we're like waiting in the ambulance bay, and like they bring the patient down, and it's like a car accident, and he like was unrestrained, so he went through the windshield, and they bring him in, and there's like part of windshield still in his face.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh my god. And I was like, still like, I wouldn't even call myself baby doctor. I was like literally just a baby, and I was like, oh my god, don't pass out. And now I'm thinking about me, because I just don't want to make the room worse by passing out.
Yes.
And then they bring him in, and I'm like, okay, we're good, don't pass out, don't get in the way, we're good. And I like walk up, and I'm like, okay, what can I do, like as a med student? Like one of the things the only thing we're allowed to do is like move stuff or like help them roll the patient, stuff like that. I just don't want to make anything worse. It was like my first day. Anyway, they like try and talk to him. That it's like the first thing you do when you come to trauma is make sure that their airway's okay. And so you go, what's your name? And if they answer, then they can breathe, and that's good. And so we're like, hey, what's your name? And he like doesn't say anything, and one of the nurses like, como se llama, and like he says his name. And I was like, oh my god, he speaks Spanish, like I can be helpful. And so I started talking to him in Spanish, because like in that moment I realized like sometimes at like my hospital there's people who speak Spanish, but in that moment like I was the only one who could talk to him. And I was like, okay, I can be useful. And I'm like, hey, like what's your name, whatever. And I'm like talking to him in Spanish, and then he's like, tengo miedo, me duele, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my god. And I'm like just a girl, so I grab his hand, and I'm like, I'm with you, like I got you, like estoy contigo, whatever. And I'm like holding his hand, and like in that moment I could not do anything medical. I was not gonna save him. I didn't know what to do. I was just a girl. But I remember I like held his hand like from the trauma room till the CT scanner, and I was like, you're good, like I got you, like we're here, you know. And like that was one of the times where I was like, dude, part of medicine is just sitting with someone and being like, this sucks, but I'm with you, you know. And so that was like one of the ones I think about. And then what's it called, oh my gosh, the other one is like a bit of like, I guess in my own like medical evolution, I guess, was on OB-GYN. I think like I think really cool. Thanks. I think like growing up, I think too, as like Latinas, we have a little bit of hesitation towards the healthcare system. Like I know, even growing up, I was like, I'm too scared to take Tylenol, like I'll just wait.
To this day.
Oh my god, and no, so, I always just take, I'm like, give me 2. Like,
oh my god, really?
Yes.
I'm like, no, we're gonna let it pass. It's not that serious.
I grew up being really scared of it. And so I remember I was this was like close to the end of my rotations, and there's this woman, and she's like having her baby. The thing is, there's a problem every time she has like a contraction. She's Latina as well, and she spoke Spanish, so I was talking to her in the room. And we're like, she's pushing, but every time she pushes, the baby's heart rate like dropped a lot. Like to a point where we're like worried, we're like, okay, this baby's gonna get brain damage because he's not oxygenating his brain. And so we're like, girl, like we gotta get this baby out. And she's like, wait, like what's going on? I'm super scared. And like the OBs in the room are like, we need to save the baby. And so I'm like trying to tell her like, okay, here's what's gonna happen. Like we need to forceps delivery, which is like where you use, it kind of just looks like 2 giant spoons to pull the baby's head out. And I was like, your baby is like not doing well. Like this is important, and we need to get this baby out. And she's like, no, I'm scared. Like, I want to do this naturally. I don't want any help. I'm really scared.
Oh my god.
And I was like, girl, like, I feel you. Because, like, when I remember being like, no, mom, no ibuprofen. Like, I can wait for the period pain to stop, you know? Yes. And it was like that on steroids. Like, she was like, her baby is, like, really bad. And she looked at me, and she was, like, in Spanish. And she was like, ¿Tú crees que está bien? Like, do you think it's okay? She looked at me, and I was like, I think you need this. Like, you need, like, this is for you and your baby. And she was like, okay, then we can do it. And I was like, bro, like, and so we got her baby out. She was crying, I was crying.
That sounds so emotional.
Her placenta was on my shoes. It was a whole thing. But we got her baby out. And I think it was one of those times where I was just like, you know, like, I think the fact that like we were talking in Spanish, and like I understood like why she was hesitant, why she was scared, but I was able to like be like, you know what, like I know the medicine behind this, and like this is what's best for you, even if it's like scary and not like fully natural if you want it, but this is what's good. And it was like a really intimate moment. I think about her a lot.
You have really cool stories.
Oh, I know. We can just do you can have a whole podcast on just medical stories.
Stuff.
How do you think that the healthcare system can better serve Latino communities, especially when it comes to language barriers and cultural understanding? Like the one example you were just talking about.
I think, to be honest, like, I think it's a tough problem to tackle. I think there's been good progress and then progress that still needs to be made. I think on the good side, I literally have to like shout out my doctors. Like I have doctors who are like really gringo appearing and like, oh, thank you. Yeah. There's like a lot of doctors who are like American and their first and only language is English, but they have literally like practiced so hard that they speak Spanish. Like they have.
I love those doctors.
I love when doctors, or even if they don't speak like at all, but they're like, ¿Cómo se llama? Or like, va a estar bien. Like, you know, like, I'm and like, so, I appreciate it.
No, because it's so sweet and they took a second. And so I think like, I honestly will shout out, I have yet to meet someone who like hasn't, a doctor at my school or in my hospitals who like hasn't tried or has like a little bit of Spanish. And so like both my mentors, one of them, she's an anesthesiologist and she'll be in like the operating room and she's like, está bien, voy a poner inyección. And like, she's like the most southern woman you've ever met. And she has a little Texas twang, but she's speaking Spanish. And like, yeah. And same with my mentor, like the other day, he was like, yes, vamos a dar un esteroide. And you're like, period, yeah. So I think like, I've seen, at least on the side of like doctors and nurses, like really working to like at least get some Spanish in, which I think is really sweet. And then system-wise, I think right now we have like, we're trying to build back trust, I think, for a lot of reasons. We doubt, you know?
Yeah. For example, like my dad, you know, he's a Mexican immigrant man and he has gotten injured at work because he does construction, carpentry and stuff like that. He refuses to go to the doctor. He refuses unless like something bad really happens. That's when he's like, okay, I need to go. And then he's like, oh, I should have gone like 3 months ago, you know? And so like building the trust is something that like, I don't know, like how can we fix that? How can we build the trust? Because even though I'm educated, even though like I have the means, I have like, you know, my healthcare, I haven't done my physical. I don't know why, you know, I don't know, like I feel like sometimes we carry that generational trauma, you know, and so I'm trying to do better with that. I do go to the dentist, I do go to the eye doctor, and like, you know, to the gynecologist and stuff like that. But I don't know, why do you think we don't trust like doctors?
I think it's really sad, and I think there's a lot of historical reasons for why we don't trust doctors. There's like the Tuskegee experiment. There's so many times like we've taken it, like not we currently, but like in the past, like doctors have taken advantage of like African Americans and other patients, and like the history of science is really dark, and we've had dark moments and lots of reasons why we lost like trust. And I think it's like really important to build it back. And on both ends, I would say like my piece is like not a fully graduated doctor yet, is to at least approach things from like curiosity and not judgment. And so if you in the future came to me, if I were theoretically like a family doctor or something, and you were like, oh my God, like I haven't been back, I'm sorry, it's been like 5 years. And I'd be like, oh, like I'm so glad you came. Like, can I ask why? Like, what happened? Instead of being like, oh my God, that's so bad for you. Like, your blood pressure is probably crazy and things like that. And then on the patient side, I think patients can also just like, I think assuming everyone is coming from a good spot is a good place to start, you know? And if you don't get something as a patient, you are empowered. You can be like, I literally don't get it. Like, how does this med work? Like, why do I have to take it? And I think like telling our parents too, like I like tell my family, like if the doctor says something, you can ask like, what? Like, why? How does this med work? And I think like demystifying it a little bit helps build trust back, you know? Just like that. What do you think?
You know what, the only like not the only reason, but I guess the main reason as to why I haven't gotten my physical either, like and not even just this year, bro, like literally in the past few years, like I haven't I only go to the doctor also whenever I'm like, oh, I have to go, like and the reason why I do that is because I'm scared of what they're gonna find at the doctor. I'm scared of what, like, oh, I went in for this scratch, you have cancer, like, you know, like something like that. And I don't know, like it's just, I'm just afraid of it. You know, my tia, she's a nurse, and she like, you know, would tell us stories and stuff, and also things like, oh, this patient came in for a headache, you know, and then she thought that it was just a headache, and then what else? Like they did some x-rays or scans, and it was something much bigger. So that's, again, like my personal reason as to why I'm scared of going to the doctor. I'm just like, I don't know, ignorance is bliss to me in that. Like, I mean, it's not good. It's it's not something that I'm proud of. It's just, something that I am terrified of.
And I think like finding out that knowledge is really scary, and it is like in our brain sometimes we're like, well, if we don't see it then it doesn't exist, but but I do think like if that, I would say, like, I'm totally biased because I'm in medical school, but like if like I would say like that bad thing, if it's gonna happen then it's gonna happen, but like maybe we can do something about it, or maybe we can at least prepare, but it is really scary, and like I have not gone to my physical this year either, and so I cannot judge you guys. So nobody's perfect. But
I'll be working on that, you guys. I promise. I'm getting better at it.
I think as we get older, we start to see like, oh, I am not a teenager. Like my body doesn't react the same. I do need to take care of myself. So book that medical appointment right now,
and like get your yearly physical.
Yes, get your pap smear. Go to test, please.
Yes, get your pap smear. Yeah.
The medical burnout is a huge issue. What are your go-to strategies for protecting your mental and emotional well-being? Because I know it can be a very tough career path.
Yeah, burnout sucks.
It's like,
no, it's so bad. I think it is like a tired I have never felt before until like school. I think it's really hard. I think my go-tos are definitely, I call my mom, I call my grandma, I call my brother, my sister, my dad. I call everyone under the sun. And I'm like, I'm tired. I think I kind of made it a point to be like more vocal about when I'm going through it. Like I'm going crazy on Instagram notes, because I think like it's also good to be like, this sucks. And like that, even just saying it like kind of makes me feel better. I think like dancing really helps. Love going dancing. Like I think
getting your physical activity.
Your de-stressor.
And I know like on my trauma rotation, like I talked to, so trauma's crazy. I honestly like don't love this, but like at for some reason they decided that trauma should be like, it's called Q3 call, which is like every third day you're there for 28 hours, and so and you work all 28 hours, and so like it was crazy. I know, it's like,
oh my god.
And so it's like the day, but it just keeps going through.
So
till the next day.
you're awake for 28 hours. But aren't they afraid that like you're like, I don't know, let's say that you're doing surgery or something really important, like falling asleep or something?
It is. I will say, like, when you're in the room, I actually had like close to a situation like that, because it was like probably like hour 20, and they were like, hey, like we're rolling cases, and so we like take turns with the med students, and it was my turn to go, and I was like, okay, and so I like went, because I'm like tired, dude, but I'm like, okay, like this is someone's dad, like this is someone's brother, like I'm gonna go like lock in, and like we go in, and it's literally like, it was a BKA, below the knee amputation, and I'm like, dude, I gotta lock in, like but your body's tired, like you're not meant to be up that late. And so I think I will say, like I actually talked to my attending doctor about this. There's studies that have shown that the last thing that goes down is patient care. Like we will feel horrible and like we'll fight with our friends and family, but the last thing that doctors do badly is like take care of our patients. And so like at hour 28, like we're tired, but we're really trying to lock in for you guys. And so I
maybe it's the humanity aspect.
Because you're like, I can't mess this up.
Exactly. It's like if I mess up, like even your subconscious now, like this is someone's life right here. This is, like you said, I don't want to make it worse. I don't want to. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm just.
No, but adrenaline will pull you through. And so, but the reason I'm sharing that is basically like I was a new kind of tired on that rotation. Like I was exhausted, and I remember I talked to my attending, and I was like, hey, like, this is your job, like you actually, I'm doing this for 2 weeks, but you did this like all the time. And like I was like, how do you not get burnt out? And he was telling me about like the 7 types of rest, which there's like a really cool TED talk about it. I read the summary, I did not watch it, but but basically there's lots of ways to rest. And so like I think the peak example of that is he was telling me, he was like, yeah, like you can go to sleep and still feel like garbage the next day, and it's because you need to rest in like different ways. And so one thing that like has helped me a lot is like creative rest. And so I remember like last day of trauma, they let us out, they were nice to us, and well, they were really nice to us. I love my trauma team, they were so sweet. But last day they were like, you know what guys, we won't make you stay the whole time, you can leave after hour like 18. And I was like, period, I'm out of here. And so I remember I was like, I really want to go to sleep, but that night was like beyond bachata, and I was like, I think I'm gonna go. And so I ended up staying up like all 28 hours anyways, but I went to like go remember that there's a world out there where like people are having fun and dancing. Yeah, so
I'm glad you went.
Thank you. It was really fun. I was so tired, but it was good.
It's crazy because as college students, I remember in college, I would also do that, but I didn't know it was called creative rest. It was just crazy. I'm gonna watch that TED Talk.
Yes, it's good.
Yeah,
it's
I'm gonna watch
good.
it.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It sounds interesting.
And that was the last question.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like we got to the last bit of it. That went by really fast.
Yes, it did.
I love having you here. I love your energy. I feel like the people are also gonna love your energy.
Oh
very
my god,
bright.
you guys are so sweet.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is
for
there
having me.
anything that, I don't know, we didn't ask you, or like something that you really want to put out there, or something you really want to say?
Oh my gosh. I think. Ooh. I think one of the questions earlier, you just like reminded me of something, and it was like, how would you want to be remembered by your colleagues and things like that. And I guess like even in like a wider sense, I guess my last thing would say, like, I think the world is very scary, and there's a lot of horrible things that happen, especially like, yeah, it's rough out here. And so I think like the one thing you can do is just like be kind and be nice. And so at least like for me at work, I'm like, dude, we're seeing a lot of horrible things, like really like dark things, but like, you know, at least we can be nice to each other and life can be good. And so I think just like always assuming that everyone's trying their best and just being nice. That's my
love
final
that.
Yeah.
I love that. I did it with kindness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a lot of people that sometimes we get in our heads and we forget, you know, that maybe a smile can change someone's like day.
Yeah.
A compliment can change someone's day. So
No, exactly.
yeah,
And
just be kind.
No, literally. And I like recently went to Brazil, and one of the things I like saw on like a little bag was like a phrase, and it was like gentileza gera gentileza, which was like kindness breeds kindness. And I thought that was really sweet.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. Kindness breathes kindness. Okay, I'm gonna add that in my little motivational note thing.
Oh, I love that. Look at this kitty.
I
Passed
know. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little jealous that she stayed with you. She didn't even freaking come to me and ask her mom.
You have a whole laptop.
Yeah, I know.
There's
That's
stuff
true.
to it.
That's true.
Well, thank you guys for another episode. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.
Yes. Bye.